I got to the Apple store and went straight back to the Genius Bar, aka the technical support centers of the Apple world. The genius behind it, whose name tag said Jake, nodded once, businesslike, as he flipped open my laptop and I explained that it wasn't starting up. I was right on time for my appointment, so I hoped it wouldn't take very long to fix. Being without my computer felt to me like being dropped in the middle of a desert island. There were no other customers at the Genius Bar, and I watched Jake as he typed and clicked and probed. He wasn't the kind of guy I usually found myself attracted to, the kind that turned my head on the street and brought an unsolicited "fuck me please" forward in my brain. But the more I watched him, the more mesmerizing he became. He was the kind that was necessary to observe like this, whose attraction only came out when the characteristics that showcased his sexiness, focus, intensity, knowledge, came together for display. Everything he did seemed to flow seamlessly, but in a very structured manner, like liquid through a straw. A second genius, whose name tag said Nick, appeared behind him, and my stomach jumped. Nick was the kind of guy I was usually attracted to, the cocky, roughly sexy, hot kind that I wanted to grab me by the hair and shove his cock into me hard. He and Jake discussed my laptop for a few minutes. Then he looked at me and smiled as he looked me up and down. The Apple store was a hell of a lot more interesting than I had remembered. As Jake and Nick studied my screen, someone else sidled up to the other end of the Genius Bar. "Busy?" he asked both of them. "Not really," Nick answered. He nodded in my direction. "Stacy is our only customer at the moment." "Hi, Stacy, I'm Andrew," the new arrival said, offering his hand. He had an outgoing attractiveness about him, and I was starting to feel like I should come apply for a job in some capacity for the Apple. "You appear to be a genius too," I said, indicating his shirt. "Yeah, I'm not on the clock for another 20 minutes though when Nick leaves." "Jake, are you going out back for your break soon?" "Out back?" I asked. "The alley out the back door," Andrew laughed. "It's where Nick and I go for our smoke breaks and Jake goes to get away from people. We seem to be the only ones who ever go out there." "Ah," I said, "a place out back that was generally deserted." I almost laughed at my own predictability as I saw the idea immediately form in my head. "So if I went out back and stood against the wall where I imagine you stand and smoke your cigarettes, you could all come out one at a time and fuck me." The three of them stared at me as I said, "It even works out numerically. There are 3 of you, and there are 3 places I can think of I'd love to be penetrated." I'm now going to fast forward through some logistical conversations.
I'd like to hear the logistics.
Covered, no worries. And in the interest of time, I'm also going to skip over the scene with Andrew, but it is in the book, Best Women's Erotica 2010. And we're going to have 2/3 of the sex of the story.
That's on Kindle.
We'll get there. I was still breathing heavily when the door scraped open and Jake stepped out. "You look like you're ready to go," he said. He seemed just the way he had while working on my computer. Straightforward, focused, businesslike. Even under the present circumstances, the polish was still there. It made me just as hot as I thought it would. Jake's focused expression took on a lustful tenor as he reached down and unbuckled his belt. He undid his pants and pulled his cock out. Without instruction, I knew what part of me he had chosen to penetrate. I smiled as I dropped to my knees, taking his cock in my mouth and looking up at him as he drew in a quick breath. I sucked hard and fast, taking his cock all the way in, growing wetter with every pump. Momentarily I drew back, saliva joining my lips and his cock as I looked up at him. Jake's cool demeanor almost slipped as his mouth opened slightly and his eyes half closed. I resumed sucking his dick and he snaked a hand around the back of my neck. He grunted quietly as he gripped my hair with both hands and shoved my head forward rhythmically as his hot cum spurted into my mouth. I looked up at him and gripped the base of his cock, stroking as he finished coming, letting it run down my chin and across my lips. When he was done, I smiled. He did too, coolly, and backed up as he tucked his cock back into his pants. "Thanks," he said, reaching down to help me to my feet. "You suck one hell of a cock." For the first time, his voice was rough, and I thought I might come at the sound. With a nod, he turned toward the door. "See you inside." Nick emerged moments later. "Hi," he said, "your computer's almost ready." Oh, my computer. I nearly laughed as I realized I'd almost forgotten about it. So my understanding is that I get to fuck your ass, he said. That's right. I held up the bottle of lube that I had acquired at the drugstore across the street in the interim. That was a logistical conversation. Well, I certainly appreciate that, Nick said. I haven't fucked anyone's ass for a long time. I sure didn't think I'd get the chance when I came to work today. Well, what a lovely coincidence. During this exchange, I had pulled another condom from my purse and torn it open, and Nick had already freed his cock from his jeans. I looked down and slid the condom on, then glanced back up at him before turning around and bending over, planting my palms against the rough gray surface of the wall. I heard the bottle of lube flip open and then felt Nick's cock nudge between my ass cheeks. I backed up slowly, pushing myself around the head of his cock and inching my way back against him until he was all the way inside my ass. I let out a breath, arching my back as the sensation and pure dirtiness of what we were doing shot straight to the pit of my stomach. I could tell by Nick's breathing that he was experiencing something similar. He pushed into me firmly, reaching down once to slap my ass as he took it from behind. I gasped and met his strokes, pushing back against him until I heard him grunt through clenched teeth and knew he was coming. He gripped my hips, and I felt my own wetness between my thighs as he climaxed into me. Nick surprised me then by reaching around in front of me and finding my clit, stroking me there delicately as he pulled out of my ass and held me in place by my hip. I moaned, unable to keep quiet as he made me come, smacking my ass once again. I told Nick I'd meet him inside, and the gray door scraped closed behind him. When I returned to the Genius Bar, Andrew saw me first and smiled shyly. Jake looked up then as well, his penetrating gaze resting on mine. Your computer's ready. We're just running final test on it, Jake said. Don't let that stop you, though, from coming back to see us anytime. Nick said from my left. I wasn't sure how I would handle the temptation to do exactly that as I accepted my laptop from Jake and slipped it back into my briefcase. I felt them watching me as I turned and wound toward the exit. As I approached it, I smiled as I recalled the direness I had felt about being without my computer upon entering the store an hour before. 45 minutes of tension relief later, I found myself wondering what might next go wrong with the computer I carried at my side. Amazing what those geniuses can do.